Welcome to day 19 in our study of the book of Ecclesiastes. The title of today's lesson is No Man Has Power to Retain the Spirit. Our verses for reading are chapter 8, verses 1 through 8. Who is like the wise, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face is changed. I say, keep the king's command, because of God's oath to him. Be not hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand in an evil cause, for he does whatever he pleases. For the word of the king is supreme, and who may say to him, What are you doing? Whoever keeps a command will know no evil thing, and the wise heart will know the proper time and the just way. For there is a time and a way for everything, although man's trouble lies heavy on him. For he does not know what is to be, for who can tell him how it will be? No man has power to retain the spirit, or power over the day of death. There is no discharge from war, nor will wickedness deliver those who are given to it. It is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. Those who show up make decisions. We aim at nothing and hit it with amazing accuracy. Those are three of my favorite sayings. They're simple yet powerful. They are easy to grasp in a single thought, yet profound enough that to explain them would take a great deal of time. Such is the nature of quips and adages, the proverb, the axiom, the maxim, and the motto. Benjamin Franklin published the Poor Richard's Almanac from 1732 to 1758. At its height, the publication sold 10,000 copies, an exceptional amount at the time. Its impact on the young colony was incalculable. John Paul Jones named his ship after the almanac's author, the Bonhomme Richard, Good Man Richard as it's translated. Napoleon Bonaparte had it translated into Italian. It was also translated into French, and the English had it reprinted for publication in Great Britain. It contained the calendar, weather, poems, astronomical information, puzzles, mathematical problems, and more. Especially intriguing was Franklin's penchant for wise sayings that carry on to this day. You no doubt will recognize some of them. A penny saved is a penny earned. Well done is better than well said. He that sows thorns should not go barefoot. Glass, china, and reputation are easily cracked and never well mended. Benjamin Franklin was gifted as perhaps few in this world. He's considered in such company with Leonardo da Vinci, Copernicus, Michelangelo, Isaac Newton, W.E.B. Du Bois, Thomas Jefferson, Alhazen, Aristotle, and Archimedes, among others. These and many more are known as polymaths, or one whose knowledge spans a substantial number of subjects, known to draw on complex bodies of knowledge to solve specific problems. However, of all that Benjamin Franklin is known for, perhaps his wisdom, preserved in the maxims and proverbs, are the most enduring. Think now upon the accomplishments of Solomon. Surely he would be listed among those polymaths down through history. The very fact that wise people existed and were world-renowned as it pertains to their reputation for wisdom is a tribute to Solomon. For so his reputation is proclaimed in 1 Kings chapter 4, verses 29 through 31. And God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding beyond measure, and the breadth of mind like the sand on the seashore, so that Solomon's wisdom surpassed the wisdom of all the people of the East and all the wisdom of Egypt. For he was wiser than all other men, wiser than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahal. And his fame was in all the surrounding nations. What's further, here is some of what he is known for. 1 Kings chapter 4, verses 32 through 34. And he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He spoke of trees, from the cedar that is in Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of the wall. He spoke also of beasts and birds and reptiles and fish. And people of all nations came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and from all the kings of the earth who had heard of his wisdom. Much more could be said of Solomon's accomplishments, for so he speaks of them in the first 2 chapters of Ecclesiastes. Yet Solomon begins chapter 8 with a maxim for life. Who is wise, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face is changed. Yes, we may sit at the feet of world-renowned scientists who can speak at length in astrophysics, biology, chemistry, psychology, geology, and just about any other ology we might imagine, and he or she would be fascinating, if that's what one desires. But to sit at the feet of one who is wise for my money, that would be far more valuable. The universities of the world churn out PhDs like printing presses spew copies. Yet, where can one get a degree in wisdom? The wall of scientists' office may be papered with certificates of graduation from prestigious places of higher learning. Yet, have you found one that makes the proclamation, "Certified to be wise," on any wall? What does Solomon then declare by wisdom? Obeying the governing authority. Keep the king's command. Why? Because of God's oath to him. Perhaps in keeping with that was what was said in 1 Chronicles chapter 17, verses 11 through 14, where we read, "When your days are fulfilled to walk with your fathers," speaking of David, "I will raise up your offspring after you, one of your own sons, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for me, and I will establish his throne forever. I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. I will not take my steadfast love from him, as I took it from him who was before you, but I will confirm him in my house and in my kingdom forever, and his throne shall be established forever." Others think this oath pertains to 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verses 24 and 25. All the leaders and the mighty men, and also all the sons of King David, pledged their allegiance to King Solomon. And the Lord made Solomon very great in the sight of all Israel, and bestowed on him such royal majesty as had not been on any king before him in Israel. Consider Solomon's sage advice to obey the leaders in light of what even Paul commanded in Romans chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment." Peter says the same in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 13 through 15. "Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme, or to governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing so you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people." As to our power over this present world and the things done under the sun, perhaps we greatly overestimate that power and forget that it is the Lord's will that must and will be done in spite of our futile efforts. That's not to say that we have no power, but we must admit and submit to what Solomon tells us in verses 6 and 7 of Ecclesiastes 8. "For there is a time and a way for everything, although man's trouble lies heavy on him. For he does not know what is to be, for who can tell him how it will be?" For all of our wisdom and advancements in technology, medicine, and science, we still cannot avoid what awaits us all, as we read in verse 8. "No man has the power to retain the spirit, or power over the day of death. There is no discharge from war, nor will wickedness deliver those who are given to it." Jesus masterfully and wisely admonishes us in Matthew chapter 6 and verses 34, "Therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." There are 4 things in verse 8 that are uncertainties in this world. First, no man has power to retain the Spirit. Some verses translate this as wind. No man has power to retain the wind. Verse 2, no man has the power over the day of death. Third, there is no discharge from war. And fourth, wickedness will not deliver those who are given to it. In a sense, that can take a great weight off our minds. No sense worrying about that which we cannot change or effect. All the while, Solomon is observing such things and applying his heart to understand. We've begun to notice a change in the direction of Solomon's observations, but we still have a ways to go. Would you rather light a candle or curse the darkness in this world? And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow for another lesson in the book of Ecclesiastes.